Hey! Stop it. We've got this little minx. This little minx is eating the plant. You don't eat plants, little girl. Hello again. I come back to you after some thought and reading. Unfortunately, I've had my 2 weeks. No, I'm supposed to go back to work this week, but I've gone to the doctors and I had to have 2 more weeks off. So 2 more weeks of doing nothing, basically. While hobbying, learning, I'll be reading, creating stuff. The last 4 weeks I've been recovering, and now it's like more time. So what I wanted to talk about today, she's gonna do it. I might have this little cat to pick up. Come up there. Yeah, what I wanted to talk about was overthinking and how it can just sabotage your life. Because it's something that I do all the time, and if we can get straight into it, it's pretty disastrous, actually. Like, thinking is good, but it should be, you should think about things, whatever they may be, whether it's like creative projects or projects or work or leisure or whatever, and then leave it at that. When you start meta thinking, which is to say thinking about thinking, you really just put yourself around in circles. It's like, what does thinking about a thought have anything to do with real life? You'll find that more often than not, if you do this, you get nowhere at all. You'll make zero progress, because when you've just thought about something for so long, what have you been doing? You've been spending your energy on the thought itself and not actually doing. It inhibits you from acting upon anything. Like, actually, this like what has really happened in my life recently, because of these weeks off, which is why I mentioned it at the start. I think about things to such an extent that nothing gets done, and I'm just led down kind of doing nothing. And there are reasons to. What are you doing? Jesus. Yes, I know. Yeah, and there are reasons to think, obviously. Like, we wouldn't get very far as a race or as people if we didn't think too much. But yeah, the modern world is like so logical and so up here heady, Zeus based. Like, in the clouds, you're thinking and strategizing and whatever else about everything, that you forget to do the darn thing, to do the actual whatever. Like, if she, the cat, thought about catching prey, how much prey would she catch? She probably wouldn't catch anything, like, because the prey is out there. It's on the horizon, it's in the fields, it's in the forests, it's in the hedgerows. It's not in this little modern box that we call a home. Or I call a home, and she's just sort of a captive here, right? But for me, like, in these last 4 weeks, I've realized that all I've been doing is thinking, and it's put into perspective how much you may not even realize you're doing it. You may not even realize that the routine you set yourself up in has literally been about overthinking and thinking about thinking, which really doesn't get you anywhere, as we've just said. And it can also mean, or for me, like, overthinking triggers reactions, in like negative reactions, and then what that does is it sends you spiraling, and then because you overthink about the trigger, you then spiral yourself down and down. And there's a little trick that I've noticed that my mind does whenever I get into one of these spirals or even overthink myself down, and it's that your mind says that you just want to do nothing. So maybe I want to write, or maybe I want to read a book, or maybe I want to bake something or go for a walk. And then I'll think about that thing, and I'll think about it. Oh, the weather's bad. Oh, we might not have the ingredients. Oh yeah, the creative project. You look at the blank piece of paper and you think, what do I write? Or it could even be, well, it could be anything, right? You just think about the thing and it doesn't get done. And then you start to spiral down and down because you thought about it. You found that all the things you thought about are negative because the brain loves that. And then when everything's negative, you look at it for a second and then it's like, so why would I do that again? Why would I even pursue anything? So it also confuses you. You have all these thoughts in your head, and there's so many thoughts that it's like, oh, I've got a headache and I just don't even want to do it, so I'm just going to do nothing. And then you sort of wallow in like a anxiety fueled, I should be doing something but I'm not. And ultimately, the only way that you can overcome this is to be aware enough that you're doing it, but that also runs its own risks. Being too aware or over aware or over conscious of your own self, you then begin to start deconstructing your thoughts, you start deconstructing yourself, you start deconstructing your opinions and your values and yourself as just a human. And in the end, you find yourself wanting, because you've just over-analyzed yourself to such an extent that it's like, what's the point in even trying? Why would you try anything if you've already found everything wanting, if you found everything to be subpar and below the average? Why would you go forward? Why would you take another step forward? It'd be akin to seeing a landmine on the floor and being like, oh, I wonder what that does, and then standing on it. And this is all what I can sense part of just the modern way of life. That obviously overthinking would have happened back whenever, let's say 100 years ago, 200. People would have thought a lot, but there wouldn't have been I don't think there would have been such a need to overthink. Like now we have so much. I'm in a warm house. I have food in the fridge. I have a car, so I can go anywhere. I have all these things that I want, but I don't really need them. And then in that paradox of wanting and not needing, you then start thinking about it. And then to add different layers to this, you've got the socio landscape, the social landscape, I mean, as in your value that you give as a person, or your work, or the people at work, or if you're going on a nice holiday, or if you're with the boys, whatever. There's a lot in this world now that you need to think about, whereas there's not a lot of time to just be. When was the last time you went out and just watched the sunset, or had a glass of warm milk, and you were sat down with your glass of warm milk and you just was like this? Or you had your family around, or you spoke to your parents, or whatever. When was the last time you did like something leisurely like that? And I don't mean escaping, as in I don't mean like going on your laptop or computer or video games. I don't mean partying or consuming media. I mean just simply being, or reading, right? Not that I've started this book, but what I'm trying to get to is that there's really not a lot of time just to be. okay, you might do 20 minutes of meditation, but how often or how much time in that meditation are you actually thinking about your thoughts? Probably quite a lot. It might be, for me, it's about 15-minute mark where I stop thinking and I just start being, because it's just, there's so much in your mind. And I've been meditating relatively for a few years now, but let's say you haven't. It's like you'll close your eyes and then it'll still be going. It'll be like a cinema up here. You're at the cinema, you're chilling, you got your popcorn, you're eating, and everything you see in your head is just playing over and over. So what I mean to say, or what I'm coming to the conclusion to for myself, is that a slower life is definitely what I want. And less, I was going to show you my phone, but actually my phone is you. You're recording POV. You're my phone, or the opposite of POV rather. But yeah, let's just imagine I had a phone here. This thing, my laptop, the black screen, the black mirror, it's like sucking your attention, completely sucking your attention away. And this was like, I actually wanted to record this video just because I've been thinking about it. It's been on my mind. I've been overthinking about it and putting it off for days. So I just had an inspiration to do it. And I wanted to send it, really. I have no script or anything. It's just basically it's just a reel coming out. I'm sure no one made it this far. If you did, good job. I'm still a very, very small and insignificant channel, but I think I really do like just to blabber on, and I do like to talk and try and make heads or tails of the situation that I find myself in, but also what everyone's in. Like, we're all alive today, and the world is like we're in a funny time. And the perspective of that is funny, because every period of time will be funny. You know, let's say you're like in the Industrial Revolution and you're a kid who's grown up on a farm, but you just grown up as the Industrial Revolution is happening. You're going to be like, oh, I want to go off into the city because that's where all the jobs are. So I'm going. And your parents are going to be like, well, we've had this farm for generations and this is how we've made our living. And these are funny times, aren't they? Like, funny times are all the time. That's kind of the realization. Time is funny like that. And I mean funny, not as in like, ha ha ha, as in curious, as in like strange and oddly cyclical, you know? And going back in time doesn't work, and you should never look to. This is another thing about, I guess is related to overthinking, but if you go back to this golden age, wherever that might be, it could be the 80s for you, it could be the early 1800s, it could have been pre-French Revolution, but whatever, looking back and learning lessons and looking back and seeing what occurred is good and all, but if you try and bring that back into now, it will never work. You can never go back to the good old days because they're gone. They're disappeared. The good old days are now, and you need to make the most out of it. Which is like overthinking, right? If you go back in time. And also, if we actually take this back to overthinking, in my own work, I do carpentry, learning that when I'm at work. My mentor would see me thinking, like, if there's a problem, let's say I need to measure an awkward bit or scribe an awkward bit or put a skirting board onto the wall, for example, and there's like pipes in the way and whatever, and he spotted it first and I begin to notice it myself, but I just look at it, you know, and I'll be ruminating on all the possible ways that I would fail and screw up, and then 20 minutes has gone by and I've not even put anything to the wall. And it's just like, stop overthinking. Boil this down. This is a piece of wood, in the case of skirting board. You need to put it onto the wall. There's things in your way. Right, let's deal with this first. And you deal with that. And then deal with that secondly. And then you calmly deal with it. Get into a flow state as you do it, when you're not even thinking. And then pop, goes onto the wall. If it goes on the wall nicely, good job. If it doesn't, but it's okay, fine. You learned your lesson and you'll do better next time. But the worst thing you can do is just sit there. Same with any problem. Same with anything creative. Excuse me. If I was to open this book and be like, this notepad, it's blank, and I'm like, well, I'm going to write a story, and I write the story title, and I'm like, just staring at it. You could stare at that forever. You could waste time looking at that forever and get nowhere, right? And that's the trick of overthinking, is it sets you into like, it makes you feel, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes, it makes you feel like you're doing something where in reality you're not, and you're just putting off the inevitable. So in effect you're procrastinating, but the overthinking masks that procrastination and turns it into, I want to be perfect, and because it needs to be perfect, I want to think of all the possible problems and things. But you really can't think that much. If you want to take a shot, let's say you have a bow and arrow or a weapon, like a rifle, and you're shooting something, you can't think about it for too long unless it shoots back. Or it will shoot back and then you've lost your advantage. You kind of have to, knock your arrow, draw it, hold, aim and fire. You can't, and then once you've aimed, have trust in that aim. Trust that you can aim properly, and that is the skill. And I'm talking metaphorically, so not just aiming, but in case of the carpentry, just having more experience, or more pen to the paper, or more paintbrush, or whatever your chosen tool is. You just need to be doing more practice. Now, because is this excuse probably, because I'm at home and I'm just like basically wasting. No, I'm healing. I need to heal. I can't move and do stuff. But I found that I don't have a strong enough desire to do anything. And that is probably a cause of my overthinking. And actually, after I record this and post it up, I'm gonna write in here about what I think might be the case. But everyone's on their journey. But I only bring the overthinking parts up because it's an all-pervasive thing in my life, and I know plenty of people overthink as well. It's not a special thing at all. Everyone overthinks. And if you don't, you go forwards. It's as simple as that. If you get caught in your thinking mental loops and mental frames, you don't get anywhere. And when you're in a mood, like I feel like I'm in a flow now. I feel like and that's through doing it. I put my phone there, I recorded it, and I started talking, and now I feel like, oh, actually, this is good. So that actually happens when you overthink. You're just looking at the thing. You can't get out of it. So snap yourself out. Use that awareness to kickstart you out, and then stop thinking. Stop the awareness. And this is a message to me as it is to you. Like, stop ruminating. It's not helping you. You think it is, and then even when you think, oh, it's helping, or oh, it's good, or I'm just protecting myself, or I'm just this, or I'm just that, you're putting yourself into a false sense of security. So stop. Again, another ramble. That's how we roll. If you made it this far, you're a beast. I hope you enjoyed or found something useful. Maybe I'll write even more or record even more. Later.